Most people have no idea what they're holding. Because of rare minting errors, wrong metals, and limited production, some wheat pennies became some of the most valuable coins in American history. In this video, you'll discover which wheat pennies are worth the most, how to spot the tiny details that make them incredibly valuable, and how an everyday coin could turn into a life-changing treasure. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America right now, there is a small copper coin sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, maybe even in your pocket. It looks ordinary, feels ordinary. But what if I told you that this exact coin, the 1951 wheat penny with no mint mark, has shocked collectors, rattled auction houses, and in rare cases, sold for staggering amounts of money? What if the next life-changing financial opportunity isn't on Wall Street, but already in your home? Before you brush this off, ask yourself one serious question. When was the last time you truly looked at your loose change? This story begins in 1951, a year when America was rebuilding, families were growing, and money was made the slow, honest way. The U.S. Mint struck millions of wheat pennies that year in Philadelphia, coins without a mint mark. Most people spent them without a second thought. But here's where things get interesting. Among those ordinary pennies, a small number were born different. Minting errors,
Divariations,
striking anomalies, tiny mistakes that turned everyday pocket change into objects of intense desire. And the scary part? Most people never notice them. They spend them, they lose them, they give them away. Don't let that be your story. Now let's talk fear for a second, because fear is honest. The fear of missing out. The fear that you already had one of these rare 1951 no-mint mark wheat pennies and spent it on coffee 10 years ago. The fear that you're sitting on value and don't even know it. Sounds uncomfortable, right? But here's the good news. You're here now. You're paying attention. And that alone puts you ahead of 90% of people. So what makes a 1951 no-mint mark wheat penny valuable in today's market? Condition, rarity, and errors. A penny with a clean strike, original color, and minimal wear can already command strong prices. But when you add errors, off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, or unusual planchet flaws, the value jumps dramatically. Collectors don't just want these coins. They compete for them. Auction houses don't hide this demand, they advertise it. And yes, in exceptional cases, coins connected to this era and category have sold for astonishing sums. Not because of hype, but because demand keeps rising while supply disappears. Let me pause here and reset your attention with a quick question. Be honest. How many pennies have you ignored in your lifetime? Thousands? Tens of thousands? Funny how the smallest denomination causes the biggest regrets. A penny for your thoughts, but sometimes a penny for your freedom. This brings us to the real turning point. Act 2. Discovery. This is where ordinary people become smart sellers. This is where curiosity turns into opportunity. You might be asking yourself right now, how do I sell old rare coins? How does selling coins actually work? How do people make real money from coins? Is it really possible to go from pocket change to millions? And most importantly, how do you sell old and rare coins in the USA for their true value, not a fraction of it? The answer starts with knowledge. Knowing what you have, understanding the current market value, recognizing that coin values are not static. They move with demand, collector interest, and auction competition. Right now, interest in US era coins and classic wheat pennies is extremely strong. Why? Because collectors in their 40s, 50s, and 60s want tangible assets. They want history they can hold, and they are willing to pay for it. Selling coins is not about rushing to the nearest pawn shop. That's how value disappears. Selling coins is about positioning, certification, timing, reputable auction houses, professional coin dealers who work with collectors, not against sellers. When done correctly, selling a rare coin becomes a strategic financial decision, not a gamble. And yes, auctions are where true market value is revealed. Competitive bidding has a funny way of turning interesting into essential. Now let's talk excitement, because this is where things get electric. Imagine discovering that a penny you've had for decades is not just old, but wanted. Imagine seeing bidders raise paddles. Imagine realizing that history just paid you back. This is not fantasy. This is happening every year in US coin auctions. And the demand is not slowing down. Here's another question to keep you locked in. If you don't check your coins, who benefits? Someone else. A dealer, collector, a stranger who recognized what you didn't. Wealth often doesn't disappear, it transfers. The smart money pays attention. Now we move into Act 3. Action. Legacy. Control. This is where you decide whether this is just another interesting video or a turning point. Because making money from coins isn't about luck. It's about awareness. It's about understanding that old and rare coins are not just collectibles, they're assets. Assets that can fund retirement, pay off debt, support a better lifestyle, or simply give you financial breathing room. The 1951 no-mint mark wheat penny represents something bigger than copper and history. It represents overlooked opportunity. It represents the idea that wealth doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers. And the people who listen are the ones who win.so. Ask yourself this before you move on with your day. What's sitting in your house right now? What stories and what value are hiding in plain sight? Are you ready to learn how to sell coins the right way? Are you ready to understand auction values, market demand, and how collectors think? Are you ready to turn curiosity into confidence? Because the truth is simple. Someone is going to profit from rare coins. The only question is, will it be you? Stay curious, stay informed, and never underestimate the power of a single penny. Right now, a small brown penny is sitting quietly in a drawer, a coffee can, or an old wallet. It doesn't shine. It doesn't scream luxury. And yet, it may be one of the most overlooked opportunities hiding in plain sight. What if I told you that a simple 1952 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark, especially one carrying a rare coin error, could change how you look at money forever? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you may never ignore your pocket change again. Let's start with a question that instantly resets your attention. When was the last time you truly looked at a penny? Not tossed it into a jar, not handed it to a cashier, actually looked at it. Because in 1952, America was rebuilding, wealth was being created quietly, and the US Mint struck millions of pennies. Yet a tiny fraction of them were born different. No mint mark, subtle errors, imperfections that today collectors fight over. And here's the irony. Most people still think pennies are worthless. That belief alone has cost Americans millions of dollars. This is Act 1. The setup. The year is 1952. If your wheat penny has no mint mark, it means it was struck in Philadelphia, the main mint of the era. On the surface, that sounds ordinary. But coin collectors know something most people don't. When errors occur at high-volume mints, those errors become legends. Off-center strikes, double dies, weak strikes, die cracks, planchet flaws. These are not mistakes. These are signatures. And signatures create demand. High demand creates auctions. Auctions create serious money. Now let me inject a moment of fear, because this matters. Every single day, rare error coins are accidentally spent, melted, or lost forever. Someone unknowingly buys a cup of coffee with a penny worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Sounds crazy, right? That disbelief is exactly why opportunity exists. Wealth doesn't announce itself loudly. It whispers, and coins whisper all the time. This brings us to Act 2, the discovery. The 1952 no-mint mark wheat penny becomes truly powerful when condition meets error. Circulated examples still carry value, but higher-grade coins, especially those authenticated and graded, can command strong prices in the current US coin market. Depending on the type of error, collector demand, and auction competition, prices can climb dramatically. Some error wheat pennies have reached 4 figures and beyond at major auction houses. And here's the exciting part. The market for rare US coins is not shrinking. It's growing. Let me ask you something that might make you smile. What if the most valuable thing you own right now isn't in your bank account, but in your junk drawer? Sounds ridiculous. Until it isn't. Coin collectors, investors, and auction houses are aggressively hunting for authentic error coins. Why? Because tangible assets tell a story. And stories sell. Especially American stories. Now let's talk momentum. How do people actually make money from old coins? How do you sell old and rare coins in the USA without being taken advantage of? How do you go from pocket change to real wealth? The answer starts with education and ends with strategy. The most successful sellers don't rush, they verify. They authenticate. They understand current market value. And most importantly, they sell where demand is highest. Auction shops, certified dealers, and national coin auctions are where competition drives prices upward. Here's a quick pattern interrupt. Be honest. If you found a coin worth $1,000 today, would you even know who to call? Most people wouldn't. And that's okay. That's why knowledge creates leverage. Once a coin is graded by a respected service, its value becomes visible to the entire market. Transparency attracts bidders. Bidders create urgency. Urgency creates premium prices. This is Act 3 transformation, the shift from curiosity to confidence, from holding a coin to holding an asset. People who succeed in this space think differently. They ask better questions. How do I sell old rare coins safely? How do auctions really work? How do collectors decide value? And most importantly, how do I avoid underselling something rare? The answer is simple but powerful. You let the market compete for your coin instead of accepting the first offer. Right now, the demand for classic American coins is strong. Baby boomers, seasoned investors, and new collectors all want tangible wealth. Something real, something historic. The 1952 wheat penny fits perfectly into that narrative. It represents post-war America, stability, and scarcity when paired with genuine errors. That combination fuels confidence and excitement in the marketplace. And here's the final truth that ties everything together. Wealth isn't always created by earning more. It's often created by recognizing value sooner than everyone else. Coins don't shout. They wait. If you have old pennies, wheat pennies, or inherited coin collections, now is the time to look closer. The opportunity isn't hypothetical. It's active. It's happening right now in auction rooms across the United States. So ask yourself this. What stories are hiding in your change? What history is sitting quietly in your home? And what would happen if one small decision today opened the door to a completely different financial future? Sometimes the path to wealth doesn't start with millions of dollars. Sometimes it starts with one penny. And the courage to see it differently. If this sparked something in you, stay curious. Stay alert. Because the next great opportunity might already be in your hands, and you don't want to be the person who spent it without looking. Somewhere in America, right now, a small brown wheat penny is sitting quietly in a jar, a drawer, or a forgotten coffee can. It looks ordinary, almost boring. And yet, what if that single coin is worth more than a luxury car, more than a down payment on a dream home, maybe even more than your entire retirement account? Welcome to the hidden world of the 1945 no-mint mark wheat penny. A coin born at the end of World War II, during one of the most powerful economic shifts in American history. This is not just a coin story. This is a money story. And if you've ever wondered, could I already be holding something valuable? Then stay with me, because what you don't know could cost you thousands, or even millions of dollars. Now let's rewind to 1945. America had just emerged from war. Factories were roaring, steel was precious, copper was rationed, and the U.S. Mint was producing coins under intense pressure. No mint mark meant the coin was struck in Philadelphia, the largest mint in the nation. But here's where things get interesting. Errors happened. Mistakes slipped through. Dies were reused. Metal compositions varied. And in rare cases, coins were born imperfect. And those imperfections are exactly what collectors fight over today. Ask yourself honestly, have you ever looked closely at a wheat penny before spending it? Or did you toss it aside like spare change? Because that habit alone has quietly erased fortunes. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people walk past opportunity every single day. They empty their pockets without thinking. They inherit coin collections and sell them for pennies on the dollar. And they never ask the right question. What if this coin is rare? What if this coin has an error? What if this one decision changes everything? The 1945 no-mint mark wheat penny is famous not because every coin is valuable, but because a very small percentage are worth very big money. We're talking off-metal errors, double dies, broad strikes, planchet mistakes, coins that were never supposed to exist. And collectors don't just want them. They need them. Now let me ask you something slightly uncomfortable but important. If a stranger offered you $50,000 for a penny, would you laugh? Or would you wish you had paid attention sooner? Because that exact scenario has already happened. Auction houses in the United States have recorded staggering prices for rare wheat penny errors, especially from the 1940s era. And here's the kicker: the market today is stronger than ever. Demand is global. Supply is shrinking. And once these coins disappear into private collections, they are often gone forever. That's urgency. Real urgency. Let's pause for a second. Quick pattern interrupt. Be honest. When was the last time you checked your pocket change? Yesterday? Last week? Never? Funny how we'll check our phone 200 times a day, but not the coins that could literally pay for it 10,000 times over. Strange world, isn't it? But this is exactly how quiet wealth works. It doesn't scream. It whispers. Now we move into the turning point of the story. This is where curiosity becomes strategy. Because the people who win in the coin market are not gamblers. They are educated sellers. They know how to identify value. They know where to sell old rare coins. They know how auctions work. They understand grading, authentication, and timing. And they ask powerful questions like, how do I sell old rare coins in the USA? How do I make money from coins? How do I turn pocket change into real wealth? How do auction shops determine coin value? These are not beginner questions. These are wealth builder questions. The truth is, selling rare coins the wrong way can destroy value. Selling them the right way can multiply it. A 1945 no-mint mark wheat penny with a confirmed error, professionally graded, and placed in the right auction environment can attract aggressive bidding. Why? Because high net worth collectors are not emotional, they are competitive. They don't ask, is it expensive? They ask, can anyone else get this? Scarcity drives price. History drives demand. And error coins? Error coins drive obsession. Now imagine this. You discover a wheat penny. You get it authenticated. You learn its story. You position it correctly. And suddenly, you are no longer someone with spare change. You are someone holding an asset. This is how people quietly step into a wealthy lifestyle. Not overnight fantasies. Strategic moves, informed decisions, timing the market, understanding that the maximum dollar value of a coin is unlocked when knowledge meets demand. Here's another question worth sitting with. If millions of dollars move through coin auctions every year, why shouldn't some of that money move toward you? Why shouldn't your old coins work for you instead of sitting in silence? Why shouldn't history fund your future? These are not dreams. These are documented outcomes. And as we reach the final act, the message becomes clear. The 1945 no-mint mark wheat penny is not just a relic. It's a reminder that opportunity often hides in plain sight, that wealth doesn't always look like wealth, and that those who ask better questions, how to sell coins, where to sell rare coins, how do I get the highest auction value, inevitably get better results. So before you dismiss the next penny you see, pause. Before you sell a collection too fast, pause. Before you assume something is worthless, ask yourself one final question. What if this is the coin everyone else missed? Because in the world of rare coins, the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is often just one careful look away. It's 1955 in America. Elvis is on the radio, Eisenhower is in the White House, and somewhere, deep inside a Philadelphia minting press, a tiny mistake slips through unnoticed.
No alarms. No sirens.
Just copper, steel pressure, and history quietly misaligning. That single error would go on to create one of the most legendary coins in U.S. history, the 1955 no-mint mark wheat penny error. And here's the part that should make you sit up straight, because one of these pennies could still be hiding in an old jar, a dresser drawer, or a forgotten box in your home right now. Yes, I'm talking about a coin originally worth 1 cent that today commands maximum dollar value in the collector market. And if you've ever wondered whether pocket change could actually change your life, stay with me. Because this story is about money, timing, and knowing what you hold before it's too late. Let's be honest for a second. How many times have you passed over a penny without even bending down to pick it up? Be honest. Most of us do it. That's exactly why this coin is so powerful. The 1955 wheat penny with no mint mark wasn't supposed to be special. It was never meant to be rare. Yet due to a dramatic doubling error during the striking process, some of these coins left the mint with bold, unmistakable doubling on the date and lettering. This wasn't subtle. This wasn't microscopic. This was a minting mistake so visible that once collectors noticed it, the race was on. And today, that race has turned into serious money. We're talking about coins that, depending on condition, authenticity, and market timing, have sold for thousands to tens of thousands of dollars at major US auctions. So let me ask you a question that might make you uncomfortable in a good way. What if you already own something valuable and just don't know it yet? This brings us to the heart of Act 1, awareness. Most people lose money not because they don't work hard, but because they don't recognize opportunity when it's sitting right in front of them. Coin collectors and investors know this. Auction houses know this. Dealers know this. The only question is, do you? The fear here is real and it's justified. Every year, rare coins are sold for face value, tossed into circulation, or damaged beyond repair simply because their owners didn't understand what they had. And once that moment passes, once the coin is gone, the opportunity is gone with it. No refunds, no second chances. Kind of like selling beachfront property before anyone realized it was beachfront. Now Act 2 begins, and this is where excitement takes over. Because the 1955 no mint mark wheat penny isn't just famous. It's in extremely high demand right now. Why? Because serious collectors in the US are aging, wealth is transferring, and rare, historically significant coins are being treated like alternative assets. Coins like this are no longer just collectibles. They're portable wealth. They're auction-grade assets. They're conversation starters in rooms where serious money moves. And here's the humorous part. This entire market is fueled by something most people ignore. A penny. Abraham Lincoln would probably laugh if he knew. Or maybe he'd nod and say, "I told you so." At this point, viewers usually ask the most important questions, and you might be asking them right now. How do you sell old rare coins in the USA without getting cheated? How do you know where to sell coins for maximum value? How do people actually make money from coins, moving from pocket change to serious wealth? And how do auctions really work when it comes to rare pennies like this one? These are smart questions, and smart questions lead to smart money. The truth is, the highest prices are achieved when coins are authenticated, graded, and placed into competitive auction environments where demand drives value upward. This is not about quick cash. This is about strategic selling. This is about positioning your coin in front of buyers who already want it and are ready to pay top dollar for it. Let's reset attention for a second with a simple question. If someone offered you 5 figures for something you forgot you owned, would you take 10 minutes to learn how it works? Of course you would. That's why education is the real currency here. Knowing the difference between a genuine 1955 double-die wheat penny and a common cent can mean the difference between walking away with spare change or walking into a new financial chapter. And yes, people do this every single year. Ordinary Americans, retirees, veterans, working professionals, people who decided to look twice instead of once. Now we enter Act 3, the moment of urgency and empowerment. The rare coin market doesn't wait. Values fluctuate, demand shifts, and the supply of authentic 1955-era pennies is permanently limited. No more will ever be made. Once they're locked into private collections or museums, they're gone. That's why timing matters. That's why awareness matters. And that's why the smartest move is action. Not panic, but informed, confident action. If you've ever dreamed of turning overlooked assets into meaningful wealth, this is not fantasy. This is documented history. Coins have paid for homes. Coins have funded retirements. Coins have created legacies. So let me leave you with this final thought. What if the next chapter of your financial story isn't about earning more, but recognizing more? What if wealth isn't always about chasing the future, but understanding the past? The 1955 no mint mark wheat penny error isn't just a coin. It's a reminder that value often hides in plain sight. And those who take the time to learn, to ask the right questions, and to act decisively are the ones who benefit the most. Check your change. Check your collections. And most importantly, check your assumptions. Because sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest opportunities. You reach into a dusty drawer, an old coffee can, maybe even your pocket change, and sitting there, quiet, unnoticed, underestimated, is a single penny. Not gold, not silver, just one brown wheat penny. And yet, this exact coin could be worth thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars today. Sounds impossible, right? That's what almost everyone thinks. And that belief alone has already cost Americans millions of dollars. Because today we're talking about the 1946 no-mint mark wheat penny, a coin born at a turning point in U.S. history, hiding rare errors, commanding serious money, and still being overlooked by people who already own it. Let me ask you something before we go any further. What if the most valuable thing you own right now isn't in your bank account, but in your change jar? This story begins in 1946, just after World War II, when America was rebuilding, factories were roaring back to life, and the U.S. Mint was striking millions of pennies to fuel a growing economy. These pennies carried the familiar wheat stalks on the reverse and Abraham Lincoln on the front. But here's where things get interesting. Coins minted in Philadelphia did not carry a mint mark. No, as just a clean date, 1946. And while most of these coins are common, a small number were struck with errors, imperfections that transformed ordinary cents into extraordinary assets. History shows us something powerful. Wealth often hides in mistakes. And in the coin world, mistakes are worth big money. Now here's the part most people don't know, and honestly, this is where excitement should kick in. Some 1946 no-mint mark wheat pennies were struck on the wrong metal planchets. Others showed double dies, off-center strikes, or unusual die cracks. These errors weren't supposed to exist. They slipped through quality control, entered circulation, and quietly lived inside everyday American life. That penny your father saved. That roll of coins your grandfather put away. That random cent you've ignored for decades. And today, collectors and auction houses are aggressively hunting these coins. Why? Because demand is high, supply is limited, and the market rewards those who act early and smart. Let's pause for a second and reset your attention with an honest question. If I told you a single penny could help fund your retirement, would you laugh? Or would you check your drawer tonight? Humor me here. People will spend hours scrolling social media looking for opportunities, yet won't spend 5 minutes examining the coins they already own. That irony alone should make you smile. But it should also create urgency because time matters. Coin markets move, auction trends change. And those who wait often sell for less than those who understand timing. As we move into the second act of this story, this is where fear and opportunity collide. Fear, because every year valuable coins are sold for face value or lost forever. Opportunity, because right now the market for rare U.S. error coins is stronger than ever. Collectors, investors, and auction houses are paying premium prices for authenticated 1946 wheat penny errors. Some have sold for hundreds, others for thousands. And high-grade, rare error examples have reached staggering levels when demand peaks. The maximum dollar value is always driven by condition, rarity, and competition is rising. So naturally, the question becomes, how do you sell old rare coins? How do you even start selling coins the right way? How do people actually make money from coins? And can pocket change really turn into millions? The answer is yes, but only for those who treat coins like assets, not leftovers. Selling old and rare coins in the USA isn't about walking into the first pawn shop you see. It's about knowledge, authentication, grading, and choosing the right marketplace. Auction houses, professional dealers, and certified grading services exist for one reason: to connect rare coins with serious buyers willing to pay top dollar. Think of it this way. You wouldn't sell a house without knowing its value, and you shouldn't sell a rare coin without understanding its market position. Many Americans unknowingly underprice their coins because they rush. And rush is the enemy of wealth. The people who win in this space ask better questions. What error does my coin have? What is its grade? Has it been authenticated? What have similar coins sold for recently at auction? These questions separate casual sellers from strategic ones. Here's another attention reset. And yes, this one stings a little. What if you already owned a valuable coin and sold it years ago for 1 cent? That happens more often than anyone wants to admit. And that fear isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up. Because the good news is you're here now. You're learning now. And the market rewards those who educate themselves before they sell. As we enter the final act, this is where inspiration takes over. The story of the 1946 no-mint mark wheat penny isn't just about coins. It's about perspective. It's about seeing value where others don't. It's about realizing that wealth doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers from the bottom of a drawer. People who build wealth think differently. They research, they verify, they wait for the right moment. And when demand is high, as it is now, they act with confidence. If you're wondering how to sell old and rare coins in the USA for maximum value, the path is clear. Learn first. Get your coin evaluated. Use reputable grading services. Track auction results. Choose platforms where serious collectors compete, because competition drives prices higher. And never forget, coins with errors, history, and scarcity are not just collectibles. They are legacy assets. So let me leave you with this final thought. What if tonight, instead of scrolling, you searched your home? What if instead of assuming it's just a penny, you asked, what if it's not? From pocket change to life-changing money, that journey begins with curiosity and ends with action. The 1946 no-mint mark wheat penny is proof that America's past can still pay in the present. If you know where to look, and if you're bold enough to recognize opportunity when it's right in your hands. Somewhere in America, right now, a small brown coin is sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, maybe even your pocket. It doesn't shine. It doesn't beg for attention. And yet, it may be worth more than a luxury vacation, more than a brand new car, maybe even the down payment on a dream home. What if I told you that a 1955 mint wheat penny, a coin most people overlook without a second thought, has captured the attention of serious collectors, auction houses, and investors across the United States? And what if the only thing standing between you and a life-changing discovery is knowing exactly what to look for and how to sell it the right way? Now here's the uncomfortable truth most people never hear. Millions of Americans unknowingly spend, lose, or ignore rare coins every single year. Coins with errors. Coins with history. Coins with stories that collectors are willing to pay serious money for. And the fear is real because once it's gone forever. So let me ask you this question, and be honest with yourself. Have you ever checked your old pennies? Or did you assume, like most people, that it's just pocket change? That assumption alone has cost people thousands, sometimes far more. Funny how a single cent can carry so much weight, isn't it? This brings us to the heart of today's story. The 1955 wheat penny is not just a coin. It's a symbol of opportunity hiding in plain sight. Struck during a time when America was booming, this coin represents an era of growth, ambition, and rebuilding. But what truly sets certain examples apart are minting errors, striking anomalies, and condition. Details so small they're invisible to the untrained eye, yet priceless to the right buyer. And here's where excitement kicks in. Because collectors don't chase common coins. They chase rarity. They chase mistakes. They chase history that shouldn't exist but does. Let me pause you right there and ask something bold. What if the most valuable asset you own right now isn't in your bank account, your retirement fund, or your real estate, but in an old box you haven't opened in years? Sounds crazy, until it isn't. This is how stories begin. This is how ordinary people step into extraordinary financial moments. And yes, this is exactly how people go from pocket change to serious money. As we move deeper into this story, understand this clearly. The market for rare US coins is not shrinking. It's expanding. Auction houses across the country are seeing increased demand, especially for authenticated error coins and high-grade wheat pennies. Experienced buyers know that supply is limited and time is not on their side. That creates urgency. And where urgency exists, value rises. So the real question becomes, how do you sell old rare coins? How do you avoid being lowballed? And how do you position your coin so it commands attention and maximum interest? Here's a pattern interrupt for you. If selling coins were easy, everyone would be rich by now, right? But it's not about luck. It's about leverage. Knowledge is leverage. Timing is leverage. Presentation is leverage. People who make real money from coins understand grading, authentication, and market timing. They know where serious buyers operate, how auctions work, and why some coins explode in value while others stay flat. And once you understand this system, the fear fades, and confidence takes over. So how do you make money from coins? How do you sell old and rare coins in the USA the smart way? How do auction shops determine value? And why do some coins ignite bidding wars while others don't? These are the exact questions wealthy collectors asked before they ever made their first big sale. And the answer always starts the same way, by treating coins not as spare change, but as assets. Imagine walking into a professional auction environment knowing your coin is authenticated, graded, and positioned correctly. Imagine understanding current market demand before you ever list or sell. Imagine having buyers compete, not negotiate. This is how value is unlocked. This is how sellers win. And this is why the 1955 DeWitt penny, especially with the right characteristics, remains in high demand among collectors who think long-term, not short-term. Now let's talk mindset, because this is where wealth truly begins. People who build affluent lifestyles don't ignore small opportunities. They respect them. They investigate them. They ask better questions. They understand that history leaves clues, and those clues can pay. So ask yourself right now, what coins have I never looked at closely? What stories might they carry? What value might I be sitting on without realizing it? As we reach the final act of this story, here's the most important takeaway. The opportunity is not gone. The market is active. The demand is real. But awareness is everything. The people who succeed are the ones who act before the crowd catches up. They educate themselves, they move with confidence, and they position their assets where serious money flows. This isn't about hype. It's about preparation meeting opportunity. So before you scroll away, let me leave you with this final question. If a single penny could open the door to financial momentum, peace of mind, and a more abundant lifestyle, wouldn't it be worth taking a second look? Because history rewards those who pay attention. And sometimes, wealth doesn't announce itself loudly. Sometimes, it whispers from the bottom of a drawer. Somewhere in America, right now, a small brown coin is sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, or maybe even your pocket. It doesn't shine like gold. It doesn't scream luxury. And yet, under the right circumstances, this one coin could be worth thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars. What if I told you that the 1954 DeWitt penny, a coin most people overlook every single day, could be the key that separates those who miss opportunity from those who seize it? And here's the uncomfortable question most people never ask themselves. What if you already owned one and didn't even know it? This is not a story about luck. This is a story about awareness. Because history doesn't reward those who rush past it. It rewards those who recognize value before the crowd does. The United States Mint in Denver struck millions of pennies in 1954, each stamped with a small D mint mark. At first glance, they all look ordinary. Abraham Lincoln, wheat stalks, copper color. Nothing special, right? That's exactly what makes this so dangerous. Because hidden among those ordinary coins are rare mint errors, high-grade survivors, and overlooked varieties that serious collectors and auction houses aggressively compete for today. And when competition rises, prices rise. The question is simple. Are you paying attention? Now here's where fear quietly creeps in. Every year, priceless coins are spent, donated, or lost forever because their owners never stop to ask, could this be worth something? How many fortunes have slipped through fingers because someone assumed old meant worthless? How many 1954 DeWitt pennies were tossed into vending machines, parking meters, or piggy banks without a second thought? If that makes you uneasy, it should. Because the biggest financial mistakes are not made by doing the wrong thing, they're made by doing nothing at all. But let's shift gears, because this is also where excitement explodes. The 1954 DeWitt penny is famous not just for its age, but for its potential errors. Die cracks, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, double dies, and unusually sharp strikes in high mint state condition are where the real money lives. And here's the thrilling part. These errors were not intentional. They were accidents. And accidents in the coin world can be worth a fortune. Ask yourself this: what if your penny is one of the rare survivors that escaped circulation in pristine condition? What if the very flaw others ignored is the reason collectors will fight over it today? At this point, you might be wondering, how do I sell old rare coins? How do I even know if my coin is valuable? How do people actually make money from coins? And the most powerful question of all, how do people go from pocket change to millions? The answer is not magic. It's a system. Wealthy coin sellers understand one critical truth: knowledge creates leverage. They don't rush to sell. They authenticate, they grade, they position, and they let the market do the heavy lifting. This is where urgency kicks in. The coin market is not static. Prices move. Demand changes. As more people discover rare coin investing as a hedge against inflation and market volatility, premium coins are being absorbed into long-term collections. That means fewer coins available and higher prices for those who still have them. Waiting too long can mean missing the peak. Acting without knowledge can mean leaving money on the table. So the real question becomes, are you prepared to sell smart, or are you prepared to sell cheap? Let's interrupt the pattern for a second with a little humor. Because if pennies were really worthless, why are auction houses wearing white gloves to handle them? Think about that. Nobody wears gloves for junk. Serious money demands respect. And the 1954 D wheat penny, in high demand and high grade, gets exactly that respect. Especially when certified by top grading services, these coins command attention, confidence, and maximum dollar value. So how do you sell old and rare coins in the USA the right way? It starts with understanding the difference between face value, collector value, and auction value. Face value is what the uninformed see. Collector value is what educated buyers recognize. Auction value is what happens when demand collides with scarcity in a competitive environment. And yes, auction shops and major platforms are where record prices are made. Not by guessing, but by presentation, timing, and credibility. Ask yourself this: where would you rather sell your coin? Quietly across a counter, or loudly in front of motivated buyers competing against each other? This is how wealth is built in the coin world. This is how ordinary people turn forgotten items into extraordinary outcomes. And this is why so many successful sellers are not collectors at heart. They are strategists. Why now? You may be thinking about that jar at home, that old envelope, that inherited collection. And that's exactly the point. Because the difference between those who live a wealthy lifestyle and those who dream about it often comes down to one decision: to investigate instead of ignoring, to act instead of assuming, to learn instead of dismissing. Here's the final truth, and it's one most people never hear. The value of a coin is not just in the metal, it's in the story, the condition, the rarity, and the timing. The 1954 D wheat penny sits at a powerful intersection of American history, collector demand, and hidden scarcity. And those who understand this don't ask, "Is this worth anything?" They ask, "How do I extract the maximum dollar from this asset?" So let me leave you with this. What coins are sitting quietly in your life right now, waiting for recognition? What opportunities have you already touched without realizing their power? And when the market rewards those who move first and think smart, where do you want to stand, watching others cash in or stepping forward with confidence? Because fortunes aren't always found. Sometimes, they've been in your pocket all along. Right now, a small brown coin is sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, or maybe even your pocket. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't scream luxury. And yet, it could be worth more money than a brand new luxury car.
Sounds impossible?
That's exactly what thousands of people thought, until one coin changed their financial story forever. Today, we're talking about one of the most talked about, most searched, and most misunderstood coins in American history. The 1958 Lincoln Wheat penny with no mint mark, a coin that has ignited bidding wars, shocked auction houses, and quietly created wealth for everyday Americans who knew what to look for. Now let me ask you something, and be honest with yourself. When was the last time you actually looked at your old coins? Not glanced at them, but really looked. Because fear doesn't come from missing opportunities. It comes from realizing you had one and let it slip away. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Many people have already spent or sold these coins for 1 cent, $5, maybe 20. when the right example in the right condition sold for staggering amounts. Yes, we're talking life-changing money. And before you dismiss this as another internet exaggeration, remember, every major coin discovery starts with someone saying, "This can't be worth that much." Let's rewind to 1958. America was booming. Eisenhower was president. Gas was cheap. The middle class was rising. And the U.S. Mint produced the final year of the Lincoln Wheat Penny, a historic ending to a 50-year design. Coins struck in Philadelphia carried no mint mark, which is normal. But here's where the story takes a sharp turn. A very small number of 1958 pennies were struck with extraordinary mint errors, the most famous being dramatic doubled features that the untrained eye often misses. These are not scratches. They are not wear. These are mint-created errors, and that distinction is where the money lives. Miss that difference, and you miss the fortune. Here's the exciting part, and this is where people lean closer to the screen. Some verified 1958 error pennies have sold for six figures at auction. Let that land. A penny. 1 cent sold for the price of a house. Now pause and ask yourself, how many coins have passed through your hands in your lifetime? Thousands? Tens of thousands? What if just one of them was different? And here's a little humor to reset your brain. If coins could talk, some of yours would be screaming, "Why didn't you look closer?" This is why collectors, investors, and auction houses are obsessed with condition, rarity, and authenticity. Not every 1958 wheat penny is worth big money, but the right one in high grade with a genuine mint error is in extreme demand. Demand is the key word. High-end collectors don't chase common coins. They chase scarcity. They chase history. They chase what other people overlooked. And that's why auctions matter. That's why professional grading matters. And that's why knowledge turns pocket change into power. Now let's talk about you, because this isn't just history, this is strategy. How do you sell old rare coins in the USA? How do people actually make money from coins? How does someone go from a coffee can of pennies to walking into an auction house with confidence? The answer is simple but not easy. Education first, emotion second, action third. The biggest mistake people make is selling too fast out of fear. The second biggest mistake? Doing nothing and letting opportunity sit quietly while inflation eats away at value. If you're asking yourself, how do I sell old and rare coins? Start by understanding that serious money is made in reputable auction houses, not quick pawn deals. Auctions create competition, and competition creates price explosions. That's where coins reveal their true market value. And yes, people ask all the time, how do I know what my coin is worth? How do I sell coins the right way? How do I make money from coins without being taken advantage of? The answer is always the same. Get it authenticated, get it graded, and put it in front of buyers who already want it. Here's the urgency you need to hear, even if it's uncomfortable. The market for rare US coins is global, and demand is rising. Wealthy collectors are not waiting. They are buying now. Every year, fewer high-quality examples remain available. And when supply tightens, prices don't politely rise, they jump. If you've ever dreamed of a more secure, more flexible lifestyle, understand this. Wealth often hides in places that don't look impressive at first glance. That's why the wealthy collect assets, not opinions. And let's have a real moment of honesty. What if the penny you've ignored for years is the one people talk about later? What if the only thing separating you from a major payday is awareness? From pocket change to millions, it sounds dramatic, but it's not fantasy. It's happened. Repeatedly. Quietly. And usually to people who weren't looking for it. Until they were. So before you scroll away, before you assume this doesn't apply to you, ask yourself one final question. If opportunity knocked in the form of a small brown coin, would you recognize it? Or would you spend it and move on? The difference between regret and reward is often one decision: to look closer, to ask questions, and to act with intention. They dig through couch cushions, dump spare change into jars, and casually spend coins that could quietly be worth more than their first home. Now let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny? Not glanced at it, but really looked. Because today's story is about one of the most underestimated coins in American history, the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin struck in Denver, carrying a small D mint mark that has turned ordinary Americans into extraordinary sellers. And here's the part that makes people uncomfortable in a good way. What if you already had one and didn't know it? This is not just about a penny. This is about opportunity, timing, and awareness. In 1953, America was rebuilding, thriving, and minting coins in massive numbers. Most of those pennies are worth exactly 1 cent today. But some slipped through the system with errors so rare, so desirable, that collectors fight over them at auctions. We're talking about error coins that were never meant to exist: off-center strikes, die cracks, double details, missing elements, planchet flaws. These are not mistakes. These are miracles disguised as copper. And the fear most people feel isn't missing out on buying one. It's realizing they may have already spent one. Let's pause for a second. Be honest. Have you ever tossed pennies into a tip jar without thinking? Ever paid for coffee with loose change just to get rid of it? Funny how the smallest coins get the least respect, right? Yet the coin world laughs quietly at that idea, because seasoned collectors know something the average person doesn't. The 1953 D-Wheat penny with the right error can command astonishing prices in today's market, especially when graded and authenticated. And here's where excitement kicks in. The market demand for rare U.S. error coins is not slowing down. It's accelerating. This brings us into the heart of the story. Act 2. The Awakening. Over the last decade, auctions across the United States have shown a clear pattern. Rare wheat pennies, especially Denver-minted errors from the early 1950s, are being aggressively pursued by collectors, investors, and private buyers who understand scarcity. People often ask, how do you sell old rare coins in the USA? How do you know where to sell coins? How do you turn pocket change into real money? The answer starts with knowledge. Because once you understand what you're holding, the power shifts to you. Think about this for a moment. A single coin, originally worth 1 cent, now sitting in a slab with a professional grade, offered at auction, with bidders competing not because it's shiny, but because it's rare. That's how money moves in this space. Not emotion, scarcity, authenticity, demand. People ask all the time, how do I make money from coins? How do I sell old and rare coins for maximum value? The truth is, the biggest profits don't come from rushing. They come from positioning, knowing when to sell, where to sell, and who is willing to pay a premium. Now here's a question that snaps attention back. What if the reason you haven't found your valuable coin yet isn't bad luck, but bad lighting? Yes, lighting. Because many error details on a 1953 D-Wheat penny only reveal themselves under magnification. Small doubling, slight misalignment, a crack running like a lightning bolt through Lincoln's portrait. Suddenly, that boring penny becomes a conversation starter at an auction house. Humor me for a second. If pennies could talk, how many would scream, "Don't spend me"? And this is where urgency enters the room. The supply of authentic 1953 D-era pennies is fixed forever. No more will ever be made. Every year, more are lost, damaged, or permanently removed from circulation. Meanwhile, the number of collectors keeps growing. So what happens when fixed supply meets rising demand? Prices don't stay low. That's why people searching for how to sell coins, how to sell old rare coins, and how to sell coins at auction shops are flooding appraisal services right now. They're realizing that coins are no longer just collectibles, they're assets. Act 3. The Decision. This is where wealth thinking separates itself from wishful thinking. The people who succeed in this space ask better questions. How do I authenticate my coin? Should I get it graded? Which auction houses attract serious buyers? How do I avoid being underpaid? These are not beginner questions. These are investor questions. And investors understand one powerful truth: timing the market beats guessing the market. Right now, rare U.S. coin demand is global. International buyers actively pursue American wheat pennies because they represent stability, history, and tangible value. The 1953 D-Wheat penny, especially with verified errors, sits in a sweet spot, old enough to be historic, rare enough to be desirable, affordable enough for many collectors to chase aggressively. That competition is what drives prices upward. That's how maximum dollar value is achieved. So ask yourself this final question. What if your journey to a wealthier lifestyle doesn't start with a lottery ticket or a risky investment, but with awareness, with opening an old drawer, with checking a jar, with slowing down long enough to look twice at what you already own? From pocket change to potential fortune, from overlooked copper to auction room excitement. This isn't about luck. This is about attention. If you're serious about learning how to sell old and rare coins, how to make money from coins, how to sell coins in the USA for top value, and how auction shops determine pricing, then remember this: the people who profit most are the ones who act before everyone else realizes what's happening. And the next valuable coin, it might already be waiting for you, quietly, at the bottom of your pocket.